Welcome to this bonus episode of the Everyday Evangelism podcast, Series 3. We're following on from the main episode with Natasha and Bradley, where we heard how God is at work among young people and explored how we can get involved. This bonus content gives us the chance to dig even deeper into this topic together. So we had a couple of teenagers at our church at different points, and I was really struck by how our pastor just chose to keep walking with them. And by walking with them, I mean literally he would take them for a walk. So, say to their parents, can I just go for a walk with this young person? And as they would go on these walks, he'd share scripture, he'd hear their story. He ended up kind of being someone who they'd turn to for a bit of help with homework or practical, filling out a form or something like that. And they were going through rocky patches, but actually they've come through that. And I think that was all because someone from the church, different age from them, was willing to walk with them, to go on a journey with them. And praise God for him.
I think we've talked a lot about how adults and older people can encourage young people to be involved with the church. But I think young people need to know for themselves that they are able to speak up for themselves. And everyone is blessed with the power of life and death within their tongue. And young people need to know that they are able to speak up and they can, be involved if they want to be involved. And it reminds me of the Bible verse, 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12, which says, do not let anyone look down on you for you are young, but be open and set an example in speech and love. And it's just about finding whatever little gift you have, because by all means I can't play an instrument. I can't play an instrument. My singing is not great, but I'm a great talker. As you can tell. And that's the gift I've chosen to use, my voice, my speech, to speak, to share my story, to share my faith. To be able to do things like this incredible opportunity. But I think young people find that if they don't have a certain gift or if they don't have a certain quality, they shouldn't be involved or they can't be involved. But I think what we need to encourage is that whatever gift it is that you have, it can be used and it's given to you from God to be blessed and to bless other people. Whether that's you just being able to greet people, welcome team, whether you can use a phone, great, PA team, whether you can, maybe you're a great baker, catering team at your church. Whatever it is, it's fruitful and it's of God and it's a form of worship and it's a form of praise and it's being involved. And even if you think it's the smallest thing, it's so big in the eyes of the Lord. And that's what we're here to do. It doesn't matter what it is. That's what we're here to do, to serve God, to worship God. And I just want to encourage young people to not be afraid. To speak up for themselves.
And that's so helpful that, from a church point of view, we've got to keep putting on display the different ways people can get involved, or not even, it may not be something that they can see, but saying that your gifts are valuable and we want to use them. But it's quite a visible thing, isn't it? The PA desk. But there might be, I loved what you were saying, there might be other things that people might not think about that fit with their gifts. And going to your voice, you mentioned how that's a particular gift that God's blessed you with and you use.
I think so.
I had another colleague from LCM, London City Mission. She was approached by a guy at her church who said, I wonder if you would mentor a friend of mine. And she asked him why. It was a female friend. She said, will you mentor my female friend, young person? And she said, why? He said, well, look, I wish there was someone who had mentored me, when I was young, and she's asking questions beyond what I've got the answer to. Could you use your voice to encourage her? And so I was really encouraged by that story, and it felt like it resonated with what you're saying, that the Lord is allowing you to use your voice to encourage others. Yeah.
I do think that model of discipleships are so important within churches. I think I feel so blessed with the church I've gone to. It's always had that model of discipleship. So from when I first was young, kind of 16, had a mentor. I remember my wife actually she came to faith at 17, and then she was at our church, and the thing that got her, it was that youth group that had that youth worker that was there for her, but then also getting her straight into mentoring, straight into discipleship, someone journeying with her who was an older lady.
Yeah.
And it was just that thing of actually, there's so much fruit in that. And I remember me for getting mentored, and it's not always just hearing my stories and going, oh, it's okay. It's actually like the truth of the gospel as well. Yeah. And actually that conviction of what you have to feel. And actually, sometimes I didn't like getting convicted and put straight. But actually looking back, it's actually the fruit of that has helped me strengthen my faith so much. And I think, in my church, everyone's got a mentor. It's a whole thing. Everyone has a mentor, someone who's discipling them. And I think it's just it's a model of holding yourself accountable. But then it's just a beautiful thing of actually it builds a church of community, when you're all in discipleship and you're all journeying. And in our church, we have so many people who are now in their 30s who came to the church when they're 15 and they've stayed, and now they're discipling, the younger people. And it's that model of discipleship that we've kept in the church. And it's a core value of actually we support one another, and we talk to one another, and we kind of put Jesus in the center of each of these discipling and mentoring structures. And actually, even if you don't like sometimes what you're getting challenged about, it's good. And it's out of a place of love. It's been a real stable in my faith of knowing if I'm going through something, I'm struggling, I have that mentor who's there always to kind of pray with me and read the Bible with me and walk with me in that. And I think that's really helped me in my journey.
I mean, that sounds really profound, and it's not all that common, so far as I know, to have that system like that. There must have been some struggles and tensions with it. Like, what makes it hard for that to work effectively?
Yeah, I think that there's that struggle. I think in sometimes you could in the terms of like, you can sometimes there's like who mentors who, maybe.
Okay.
So there could be a thing of actually, if you've got a lot of older people, not many young people, and that structure, but then it's always kind of sitting down and talking to each other and being honest and praying. And actually, even that time of I remember I had when I was 14 or 13, I had a mentor. It was really good in that season, but I remember thinking, okay, this is not working out for me anymore. And then talking to my pastor and the person and praying and moving on to a different mentor who was right for me in that season.
Okay.
So actually being open, honest, and thinking, okay, if this is not working for me, and there's some, actually to be honest, and like, okay, is there someone else who I should be being mentored by, and having that prayerful, that decision. And it wasn't anything bad. It's just that new season in my life. I just needed a fresh person. I felt like, and that was really helpful for me. So I think that's one kind of side. But we've got a model in our church that, everyone who serves in the church is in discipleship. And so therefore there's that accountability in it. Which is, and sometimes that can be a struggle though, of actually, I want to serve but not have discipleship.
Well, absolutely.
And actually that can be a real barrier. But we really say no. We'd love to disciple you and journey with you, and you to be a part of serving and stuff. But we feel discipleship is a core value, because we want to be journeying with members in the church, and we want us to be kind of a Bible believing church and centered around Jesus. And I think discipleship is a key part of that.
Now, what happens when people are saying, well, I'm getting my discipleship online? One of the things with some of the recent surveys about people attending church, I think some young people are saying, yeah, I'm going to church. And what they mean is I'm tuning into YouTube. And so they're experiencing something of, it's good that they're experiencing something of the gospel and so on. But what you're describing can't really just happen through a screen, right?
No, I think that community. I think as a church, you need community. And I think it's so good if you're listening to podcasts or church online, fantastic. But join a community where you're with fellow Christians and you're worshipping together. I think there's something so powerful about praying together, worshipping together, journeying together. Because I think there's a danger when you go alone and you think, okay, I'm going to do it online, of actually, if there's no one to hold you accountable, your theology can, sometimes can get by online and stuff and influencers and stuff, but actually to have that community of where actually we're worshiping together here and we're journeying together, and there's that freedom to have conversations together. I think it's so important. So I'd always encourage, I sometimes get young people and say, I watch a lot of TikToks and Instagrams about faith, and I'm like, that's a fantastic place to start. Continue to do that, but come along on a Sunday as well. And reach out in the community. Let us, we want to see you on a Sunday. We want to just like talk to you on a Sunday. We don't want to talk to you on a Thursday and you have church on a Sunday on your phone. Come be a part of us. We'd love you to be part of us and actually have that challenge. Yeah. Just actually to be okay to challenge them and say, but come along, be in person with us.
Like what Bradley was saying, online church is great. Social media is great for sharing and for tuning in during the week when, you need a little boost. But I think being a part of a church community and seeing talking to people, having fellowship, it's so important, and it really does fuel the soul. It really does fuel that fire that we as Christians have for Jesus, I think.
And to answer those questions, isn't it? Sometimes when you're online and you're watching, you think, that's really good. What does this mean though? And if you're online and don't go to, who do you ask that question to? Yeah. And then you just either come up with your own answer or you look to online, but actually being a part of a church, you can go to someone you trust and then say, what does this mean? I don't understand this. And then have that conversation. And I think that's so important as well. Because we have a lot, as a young person, I had a lot of questions. Yeah. And the young people have a lot of questions. Yeah. And they want to ask those questions in a safe space. So giving them that safe space to ask those questions.
Community of trust, a safe space that fuels your soul. So I want us to think about what we're seeing in terms of young people sharing their faith. So we thought a lot about them receiving from numbers of different people in the church and so on. But how are you seeing them begin to share their faith? Why not start us off, Bradley?
Yeah, I'm going to share two stories, like a smaller scale and a larger scale. So a smaller scale is kind of the young people that have just come to faith at the after school club we're running. We've seen them firstly kind of inviting their friends along now to the after school club. And then kind of the second thing is kind of inviting them again to like the church, or say, come along, it's quite cool. And then just kind of answering more questions and kind of just saying, when they became a Christian and why they became a Christian. So like really basic small steps, but just massive bits of boldness coming from these young people. And we're seeing that kind of naturally though, without even prompting, they're just naturally kind of inviting and naturally talking about it, which is amazing. I remember when I was young and we had a church event and they would say, invite your friends. And I was like, I'm not inviting my friends. They'll think I'm a weirdo. That fear. And actually now when we say, invite your friends, they're like, yeah, cool, we'll invite our friends. And there's actually, we'd love to invite them here. Like, why wouldn't we? Yeah. And I mean, for me, there was such a fear of being judged. And I think with young people, there's sometimes that boldness of actually, of course I'm inviting them here. Like, this is really cool for me, so I want my friends to experience it. Yeah. There's that natural boldness that I'm seeing at this like kind of after school club of actually each week there's someone new coming along because their friends like, it's really cool, come along. And for me that was a big step, me doing that. So I think I'm just encouraged to see there's that natural boldness of actually there's no fear of just inviting them to place things that are happening.
Yeah, praise God. Young people themselves seem to be saying, we're enjoying this and we want to draw others to it as well. Praise God.
And then kind of on a larger scale, there's a weekend event that happens twice a year called Amplify, which is a young evangelist program. So there's 2 weekends event, one in March, one in October. And then throughout that, there's kind of like discipleship groups that they split up into where we just kind of journey with them and go through some content. And that's for like young people that've got the gift of evangelism, or they want to share their faith with their friends and family even more. So they come away on this weekend, and we worship together, and we kind of do some teaching with them, and then we get to hear their stories and how we can help them. And we went just in March, and it was just an incredible weekend of just seeing these young people fearlessly sharing their faith in their schools, in their classrooms, kind of with their friends, with their families. And it was just like that, hearing the testimonies was just incredible. I remember one young girl just sharing, saying, I got to share my faith and kind of the Easter experience in front of my whole school. They gave me to do this. They get me to do the Christian assembly. And I was like, wow, what opportunities of young people stepping out with such boldness, sharing their faith. And their prayer requests are just kind of like more boldness and just kind of, and knowing there's other Christians their age doing the same thing. I think that's the beauty of Amplify, is that they're surrounded with people their age doing the same thing, so they can support each other. Because sometimes it can be lonely and real scary stepping out that age, sharing your faith. And a lot of them get sometimes you get picked on, or sometimes, you get made fun of. And actually they're stepping out and saying, no, I want to share my faith. I want to share who Jesus is to me. And just watching all these testimonies about how they're sharing their faith with their friends and family, and how they've seen young people come to faith. And just watching them grow, and Amplify gives them an opportunity to grow as young people, but then to become young leaders at Amplify, and kind of begin to teach the next kind of generation who will come along. And it's just been amazing to be a part of it. And we're looking forward to kind of going in October again to see what God's been doing and kind of be more involved within that.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. And Natasha?
I think, again, smaller scale would be just social media. When I got baptized, it was something I wanted to share with friends and family.
Yeah.
So naturally, I posted about it, and it was really encouraging to see how much, because most of my family are not Christian.
Okay.
They come from a Hindu background, but just to see like the encouragement, the support that came from them was really nice. But it also sparks up the conversation of, oh, how did you decide to get baptized, or how did you decide to come to faith? And sparking up that conversation allows me to share my faith.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of young people, I think, are, using social media in such a positive way to be able to share their stories, their backgrounds, their beliefs. And again, that sparks up conversation, with non-believers as well. On a larger scale, I think the work that I do with Faith in Schools is a really big example of it. I as a young person, am able to go into schools to share my faith with younger people, and as soon as one person starts doing it, other young people are encouraged to do it as well.
Yeah.
And you give other people, okay, yeah, I could do that. That seems okay. That seems great. And yeah, more of us come along. And now I think, volunteers wise, I think we have about 6 or 7 volunteers that are young people.
Okay.
And we just keep growing. The church that I'm with, we now work with other local churches that have young people that are really encouraged to want to work with even younger people.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you or your church would like to connect with our children, youth and schools team here at London City Mission, please contact ministries@lcm.org.uk. You can also access some bonus podcast content from Natasha and Bradley exploring more on this fascinating topic. Visit lcm.org.uk/podcast to access that. See you next time on the Everyday Evangelism podcast.